While everybody is hyped about the new M4 iPad Pro, I think that the new iPad Air is going to be the real winner, and I'll explain exactly why. Now, of course, that dual-layer OLED display is going to be amazing, the best display ever in any device, and the redesigned landscape camera along with the new Apple Pencil and the new Magic Keyboard that makes your iPad into a laptop replacement, that sounds mind-blowing. And of course, we are gonna buy one, but the price tag on that bad boy is gonna be tough to swallow. What I think is gonna be really cool is an iPad that has a large screen and that's actually going to be affordable while having a lot of noticeable improvements. Just like with MacBooks for years, if you wanted to get a large display, you had to cough up a whole lot of money. And when Apple upgraded the 12.9-inch iPad Pro to the mini LED design, it became even more expensive, $1,100 just for the base iPad, not including adding the Magic Keyboard, the Apple Pencil, maybe upgrading your storage. This thing is more expensive than a MacBook, all while suffering with limited operating system and capabilities based off of that. Now, I know it's nice to have those goodies, but I personally just got my son a new iPad, a used one, even though it has lower processing performance, just because it works great. It does all the iPad things and it doesn't destroy your wallet. Now, just like we had with the 15-inch MacBook Air, where we got such a killer device with a large display that's not as pro, but that thing is amazing for most people. I think this new iPad Air is gonna be just that. Currently, we have the $599 iPad Air, and it's a good device, but it has a couple kind of annoying things about it. And one of those things is that landscape display that we also have in the iPad Pro that just doesn't look great, and it's not in a great position. Apple fixed this with their entry-level redesigned iPad, and it is so much better. And with this new iPad Air, we are gonna get that same landscape camera with Face ID functionality in there, and that's perfectly set up for a keyboard. Now, Apple's gonna be doing a new keyboard. I know it's gonna be very expensive, and the benefit of buying an iPad Air is you can buy these Magic Keyboards at half cost or less, which is such a killer value compared to their regular $300, $350. That makes for a perfect setup, and with that landscape camera, it is so nice as an office or all-around tool. And to prove that landscape camera is actually found in code, so it's not just some random leak. And now hardware manufacturers is actually showing off shots of their hardware designed for this setup. So that is pretty much guaranteed to come. Now internally, it's pretty much a given that we are gonna get the M2 chip instead of the M1, and that does have some nice benefits. Of course, it has improvements in performance, but it also has much better efficiency cores, so that saves battery life if you're doing kind of simple tasks. On the front, it is gonna look like most of your new redesigned iPads. It's hard to tell a difference between them, but on the back, we have schematics now showing off a new camera bump with the redesign, so it looks a little bit nicer. The flash is integrated in there, and I really hope that we get an upgrade with the cameras, because Apple is known to use the same camera that came out in an iPhone for 2 or 3 generations of iPads, and just upgrading the software a little bit. But that's gonna be a small little improvement. Now, of course, you are not gonna get the ultra-wide camera or the LiDAR like you get with the Pro models, but give me your guys' opinions. Do you guys really care about that? I do scan documents and sometimes take pictures, and my kids will take pictures and videos, but that ultra-wide, I think, is not really necessary. I do want to talk about the pricing because that's the most important part. But first, I want to talk about the displays, because this is going to be, for the first time ever, a large 12.9-inch display in a budget iPad. Now, we had leaks and rumors about this model getting a 12.9-inch mini LED display. That would be amazing. but I think that they are wrong and they have some updated information, but I'll explain the main thing that kind of points this out. When Apple went to that, we got the $1,100 iPad, and yes, the display does look better, but in regular real use, if you're not watching HDR, it still acts the same, and it also just is so much more expensive to build. Now, it might be true that Apple might have a lot of these displays that are left over, but at the same time, how many people are gonna wanna buy an iPad Pro if you can get this display in a budget iPad? We got full dimensions for these new iPads, and what really stood out to me is that the 12.9-inch new iPad Air says it has a 6mm thickness compared to the 12.9-inch iPad Pro with mini LED, which was 6.4. Now, I actually went back and I looked at the older iPad, large 12.9-inch models before the mini LED display, and it was about 6mm thick. So if our thickness is getting smaller all of a sudden, that points to Apple using a regular old LCD display. I think that is completely fine as long as the price point hits the right target. And now we have another updated report from Ross Young saying that, well, other supply sources now are telling him that no, it's not gonna get mini LED. And so of course that's a little bit of a bummer, but it does make complete sense for price tag and what they're trying to target. And now let's talk about that price point for the first budget iPad that's gonna have a large display. In the last couple of years, Apple has been trying to get more budget devices out. We have a large screen iPhone that's not a Pro model, and we have that 15-inch MacBook Air, so you don't have to buy 16-inch MacBook Pro for $2,400 to get that screen. And now we have this iPad. Now, the interesting thing is, if we take a look at the iPhone 15 and then going up to the 15 Max, it's only a $100 jump. And then if we look at the iPad mini, that comes with an A15 and a small screen for $499, and jumping to the iPad Air gets you the M1 and a larger screen for only $100 more. And that brings us to this conundrum, because $599 is the iPad Air, and the larger one could possibly be $100 more. At least that's what we would wish. But if you start taking a look on the Mac side, jumping from a 14 to a 16-inch, that costs $200 more. And from a 13-inch to a 15-inch Air is also $200 more. And taking the fact that the current 12.9-inch iPad is $1,100, and before we had the mini LED one, it was $999. I think most likely it's gonna come in at $799, so it's a $200 jump in price tag just for that larger display. Of course, you're gonna get a little bit better speakers, most likely, a little bit better battery life as well. So $799. So the $200 jump is a decent jump there. But then when you think about it, for $799, getting an iPad with a large screen, with a new camera bump, with an M2 processor, the only real limitation is the display technology, and you're saving $300 from the iPad Pro, and this new OLED iPad Pro is likely gonna be $1,200 or more starting price, so a $400 price gap. That is a big one just to get some extra tech that a lot of people do not need, and then adding in extra accessories. So I think for $799, maybe $749, we'll see what Apple prices it at, this is gonna be a killer iPad with an M2 chip that's gonna be supported for a long time, a lot of performance. That is just gonna be a deal. It's gonna be hard to beat. And right now, if you wanna get anything close to that, you have to buy a used iPad couple years old, and it's still not that great of a deal. So let me know your thoughts about this. Have you been waiting for a large iPad for a decent price point without spending so much money? Or would you rather spend the extra money and get a new iPad Pro even though it costs way more? Click that circle above, check out one of those videos right over there. Of course, we're gonna be ordering all of these and comparing them. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next one.